For the third time in the history of the NBA, a Canadian has won the MVP. This is Basketball Island. Hein, Hambone, Jevohn Shepherd, Fab, Wes, once again, big time in us. Jevohn, let's start with you. How special of a moment is this for like young Canadian ballers out there to see our country produce the best player in the NBA this season?
Yeah, I think it's huge also because he's done it the right way, right? It wasn't just volume numbers. It's you did it, but you also won, right? You also took your beating, you took your losses with OKC. It's a guy that was traded on draft night, also traded from the Clippers. So he's pretty much done this from the ground up. And even if you look at his path to Kentucky, right? Went in there, a lot of people said it's too high of a school for him, and plays out their starting guard at the time, and just a guy that really, gets it from the mud, so to say, but also humble, and you see him around the community. You see him in the gyms here, so he's not just a mythical character, and I think that's the special thing for, Canadian kids.
I think the dude is super likable. His game is nice to watch. Man's got aura. Mm-hmm. To your point, Thunder ran through the entire league this year.
Yeah.
Like, averaging like 30-plus points per game. Like, just does it smooth, can play defense. Like, Nikola Jokic, hat tip, great season, but Shai deserved it.
Ultimately, the winning, I think, is the difference.
100%.
Yes.
The winning is why. You can't win that many games and not be MVP. That's ultimately. And yeah, Jokic was awesome, but like, come on, like.
Shai led the NBA in win shares, so he contributed the most to winning out of anybody this year, and I think the gap between him and the Nuggets, or the OKC and the Nuggets, was so sizable that it was just impossible to ignore an 18 win gap. But just in terms of, it's cool to see him like for the style of play as well, like this kind of like mid-range guard. You don't have a lot of these
Foul
guys.
merchant.
No, just I know, which is I think it's a little.
Come on.
It's a
you know why he gets fouled? Because he's beating everybody.
His game is very unconventional.
That's what
right?
I'm saying. So it's interesting to see a guy play the way he does and win the MVP, because it's just so against kind of what the NBA is built on now.
He's not above the rim. You look at him, very unassuming, not the biggest stature, gets to the rim. The mid-range game, like you say, everything that you're not supposed to do is exactly what he is doing. And I think it's also impressive to see it's not just his impact in Canada, right? When Steve Nash won the MVP, his 2 MVPs, like people around the globe didn't say, I want to play like Steve Nash, right? You have kids internationally, you have kids in America, you have kids here that are modeling their games, right? They're in gyms. Trainers are chopping up SGA film to implement his game with the new generation, the new era basketball players. I think that's actually impressive. Like I came up playing, we all modeled our games after American players, right? We've never heard anybody say, hey, I want to play like Steve Nash. And that's no knock at Steve. Heck of a player, Hall of Famer. But it's different with Shai. Like everybody, Shai's up there with, this is the new NBA. When you talk about the NBA now, after Giannis won his MVP, you led with Giannis. When who was it, Embiid, you led with Embiid. When LeBron, you led with LeBron. Steph, so to say, same. With SGA now, like every conversation that you talk about the NBA, you start with SGA.
Dude, he's had one of the best guard seasons since Michael Jordan.
Well, hold on. I got a good stat on this. If you were to take players in NBA history to average 35-5, shoot 50% from the field, and have their teams win 60 or more, 4 players have done that in NBA history. Jordan twice, Curry, Kareem, and SGA. But if you add a steal and a block, 2 guys have done that. Jordan in 90-91, year he won his first ring. SGA this year. This is a special season, and people are not really giving the respect it deserves just because of how special it was.
It's a blessed time to be a Canadian basketball fan as well. You had the Raptors title in 2019. And you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning MVP, and before that, you had Steve Nash winning 2. But like Shai, like even Nash has admitted that Shai's a much better player than he is.
And Jamal Murray winning a title 2 years ago, as the second best player on the Nuggets.
Yeah, and like Canada, like come the next Olympics.
Hold on, Canada, not even that. Let's go back to the Worlds, which you did a great job calling.
Yes, you did.
Beat the Americans' ass. Like, come on, man.
Did you give me a compliment?
You did great.
Thank you. I just wanted to.
So great.
I just want you to say it twice.
Before I forget, who did you want to play like when you were coming up?
Jordan.
I mean, hey.
Jordan, Kobe.
Hambone's mad. Yo, he didn't say me.
Still dribbles too
Hambone
high.
played against him in high school, but Jevohn didn't remember.
I had no idea.
What do you say? Too small. Small fry.
Yeah, no, honestly, great.
Part of a line.
Here's an interesting fact too. Now we're talking obviously the Canadian angle. You mentioned Giannis. This is the 7th straight year that we do not have an American-born player, and like whatever, if you want to call Embiid American,
He's not American. Not American.
I know. He plays your team.
Not
USA,
American.
but like for the haters in the comments, yes, okay. 7th straight
his
year.
kid was born there, man.
Player not born in the U.S. has won MVP. So like,
Unbelievable.
it's great to see how the game has grown internationally, but like. The American superstar that's kind of it's not dead because we've got Ant, but like after LeBron, Steph, and KD are retired, there's definitely a void that needs to be filled.
Yeah, and I think what's cool about Shai too is I'm sure this MVP is, he's going to be super proud of it, but I think his goal is to win. Yeah. And I think it won't matter to him as much.
Last year, they got popped in the second round, right? Yeah. This is the first time where he's in a position where he's MVP. Last year you could argue that he should have been MVP. And if they don't win this year, there's so much pressure. Like you're gonna hear all about it. So I think even for his growth, right? This is great. This is perfect, right? You come out of this a better player because now you understand how to do this with the pressure, with the expectation of winning.
Yeah, and he's 26 years old, and we know he's a great scorer and a great shot maker, but he's having to learn how to become a great decision maker and how to process elite playoff defenses in real time. And it's cool to see the journey kind of he's on, and hopefully they have a great shot at getting to the finals.
I just want to reiterate as well, like how cool it is that he's Canadian. Like, we work at TSN, and I feel like, we don't even do enough on the guy. Like I had to fight to get this guy like higher up on Sports Centers to give us some like let's cover this dude. What we're seeing, like he's probably the best athlete in Canada right now.
It's an interesting conversation.
A part of that is we've never had this this level of superstar, right? And it's almost you forget about it, you ignore it because it's uncharted, unfamiliar territory. Like we're not even appreciating what we have in front of us right now.
So the lack of coverage you mentioned, I think you also see that in the States. What do we attribute that to? Is it because he's Canadian, or is it the style of play? Like why
he plays for Oklahoma City? I think that has something to do with it.
Sure.
He's also not like a Ja Morant, 10-second clip kind of guy either, right?
He's not above the rim. He's not going to be on your top 10
So that's
highlights.
what we think it is? It's just style of play more than anything?
I mean, I think to me, like...
Market.
But what if he was American?
Yeah.
I think the picture looks different.
Probably.
Right?
I mean,
let's also not ignore the fact that he keeps his personal life personal, right? So you don't, outside of his fashion, you're not as connected to who he is. Like Ant-Man, he gets on the mic, he says anything and everything, right? So people love that. They see the flaws in him, and it makes him more personal. You think about, Tatum, why he's not loved as much.
I was going to say, Shai ain't Tatum.
He's not Tatum. He did the Kawhi thing. Like, come on, man.
Tatum is a blank canvas, and that's a big part of it. So for Shai, it's, market and not above the rim, not on top 10 every night. Canadian. And he's also, the Canadian's one thing, but he's also pretty reserved in, showing you who he is.
There's an air of mystery around him, right? You don't know a ton about him.
I like that though. I mean, that's worked for Kawhi. It actually is it's what's carried Kawhi. I think it's also shielded Kawhi from criticism.
Press conferences, he says he ticks all the boxes, right?
All those post game hits with like the Thunder games, like with the whole team just huddled around like the reporter gala. Like, I think there's like a real spirit to that team. I think his teammates respect him. And the fact that he's Canadian is really cool. I think we need to up the ante on our coverage with the guy.
Yeah.
Like, I think what we're witnessing is special, and you don't really quite know that or understand that until the moment's passed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's where we're at right now. So I just, I mean, again, to your point earlier, Jamal Murray won a title, but he wasn't this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Jamal, before he worked for TSN too, like playoff, like dynamo, but like.
Put it this way.
Shai's next level, man.
You have an MVP right now. If Shai adds a chip, he is the best Canadian to ever do it.
Oh yeah,
like
he
might be there already. It's close.
Sorry, Leo.
Need the hardware.
Also, too,
Our boy Leo.
Had to get in. Fun fact: Shai, St. Thomas More, Kia Nurse, Tamika Nurse.
Yeah, man.
That's just a high school that just churns out elite athletes. That's all for us. Catch us on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts.